taking the time to satisfy that. We all have impulse urges, you know, at the impulse aisle at Target or Walmart or, you know, Neiman Marcus. Do they have an impulse aisle at Neiman? I don't know.
English market.
Yes.
So, but, you know, we see something, we think we want it, we buy it, we fiddle-faddle with it for a little bit, and then we toss it off. You know, no harm done, and we haven't affected anybody. We all have that, but when that impulse, that fleshly impulse, gets in the way and it causes us to do something on a big scale that adversely affects other people, then is when it starts to become a problem. So the balance of the verse is Vatehi lachem halevena le'aven v'chachemar chaya lechem lachomer. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. Vatehi means to exist or to be. It also means to be upright, but it also means to faint or to fall. The words halebena and le'aven, again, these mean essentially the same thing. If we were actually reading this, it would say, and they had stone for stone. So we take a look at this, and the word for stone and brick and tile, the root of these words takes us back to the idea of purity and ethicality. So again, are we getting the suggestion here of the consequences of our actions to remain upright in purity and ethicality, or to faint and fall because of its lack or neglect? Do we neglect being ethical? What is it? What is it to be pure in what we do? You know, is really, is everything that we do pure and right and everything? We have to think of that. If we think about it realistically, we all take shortcuts. You know, we don't. Not everybody follows instructions, and you know, we buy the furniture to piece together, and we throw the instructions away, and we try to put it together and get frustrated because we have all these bolts left over, and I guess they're just spare parts. But if we're honest with each other, we all take shortcuts. But is that a problem? Again, it's taking a shortcut isn't a problem. If you plan out your shortcut, if you say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to cut these things out, this is what the goal is that I want to be, I'm looking at all the consequences that could happen if I take this shortcut, but I'm going to plan out this shortcut. Is it going to affect anybody? Am I going to hurt anybody by taking this shortcut? So it's something to think about. Is it ethical, what I'm about to do? And that's something else to think about. You know, I've worked in a lot of places, and I've worked with some people that did some things that were questionable. And it's either you draw the line or you fall for it and you risk yourself. So the word vehachemar means slime. It's a nice word. Chamar is its root that means foul, troublesome, and turmoil. We again have the word chaya, which means being, which being the root of vetechai, which we talked about a minute ago, means to exist or to be as well as to be upright. And it also means to faint or to fall. So it has the same meaning. Our last word in this phrase is similar to the word slime, but a little different. And lachomer, which means mortar, cement, clay, the root of this word is the same as that which is for slime, which is chamar. Again, foul, troublesome, and in turmoil. The idea of the story that we read in chapter 11 of Bereshis is that they were making cement, basically, to hold these rocks together. But the Proto-Hebrew of this word means to separate substance. And again, the concept goes back to, we consider that building this tower, are we doing it right, or are we taking shortcuts in building the tower? And if we take shortcuts in building the tower, are they going to cause trouble and turmoil? Are we using the right things that's going to hold it together? Or are we using something that's basically the substance is going to separate? And what happens if you don't mix concrete right? It turns to powder. It doesn't hold anything together. And the next thing you know is you have a pile of rocks on the ground. So it goes back to the concept that we should consider that if we use this stuff to build our tower, is it pure and ethical, or is it going to be troublesome? It's human nature to want to get things done quickly. But if we don't take time to plan out things, then we start to have problems. And the overall idea in this study is that we all do things in order to grow, but that in doing what we do, we have to consider the big picture. What will be the end result of our actions? Will it cause problems in our lives or in the lives of others? There's nothing wrong with healthy pride, and that's another thing. There's nothing wrong with healthy pride. Without pride, we couldn't grow or succeed. Pride allows us to be creative for the benefit of others, and it builds within us the desire to do quality work. So there's good, healthy pride. It's when we begin to see ourselves as more than what we are that the problems arise. So the questions in this study are quite valid. And again, we should take these questions and add them to the other questions that we've developed so far in this Omer count. And say, we examine ourselves during the Omer, and we examine ourselves pretty much all the way up to Sukkot. But these are things that we can ask ourselves all year long. Why am I building this tower? Why am I doing what I'm about to do? And what is going to be the outcome? And when we get into building the tower, we're going to kind of start throwing these ideas together to get a really big picture of why Elohim stepped in and did what Elohim did as far as confounding the language. But any questions on this?
Makes sense. Oh, excuse me, I didn't see that.
Those are really good cookies.
You know, really important question there.
Fruitiness is achieved, I guess. There we go, I forgot to give the signal.